probably clicked on this video with a very specific opinion on where you think the Counter-Strike franchise will end up. You're either in the camp that thinks that the Counter-Strike franchise will die with CS2, or you're in the opposite camp that thinks the future is bright for Counter-Strike. It is generally accepted that CS2 is broken right now, but I think the future is bright, and therefore I came up with a list of reasons why I think the probability of CS2 succeeding is way more probable than it failing. This is why CS2 will inevitably succeed. If you're familiar with Valve content updates, you probably know the term Valve time. This term refers to the fact that Valve often promises a release date of their content to just release it later at a random time. This sucks for the gamers who wait eagerly for the content that is being shipped. But the fact is that Valve content is primarily known for quality, and therefore the idea of Valve time is generally accepted by their consumers. Sometimes they fuck up, but hey, what is the fun without it? And I think this is where it went wrong with the CS2 release. The game was clearly shipped with many core features missing, which is probably because of the promised release date of summer 2023 being way too early. Valve messed this up in my opinion, as they could have easily extended the beta and worked on fixing CS2, but it didn't. And now the franchise is bleeding players. And you're probably thinking, but you said that CS2 will succeed. Yeah, and let me tell you why. The average Counter-Strike player probably never thinks about how many active players the game has at that exact moment. But the fact is, Csgo had many periods where player counts were bigger than usual, and also the opposite. These periods of lower player counts could almost always be correlated to periods of less content being released. This shows that Counter-Strike has a lot of casual players who change their main game when there is a content drought. With the game being fundamentally broken and without core game modes, this is where Counter-Strike 2 is at now. And I predict that this part of the player base will come back when the game gets fixed and new content like a major gets released, which the game will receive as case unboxing numbers have fallen by around 10 to 20 million in just 2 months. Meaning Valve is losing potential money from one of his biggest money makers. And we got to remember that Csgo was really fucking bad in the start. That game turned out okay in the end. Let's just hope it doesn't get the treatment other Valve games like TF2 gets. Skin prices almost never get the credit it deserves, with it being a driving force that keeps the player base playing. What I mean by this is when, for example, CS2 was announced, almost every skin doubled in price. This meant that players who bought at the new prices were more invested in the game, as they had financially ties to the game. And it was almost if it was the new gold rush, and everyone thought that they would be making money. But this didn't happen, and skins tanked in price when CS2 wasn't the game it was promised to be. This meant when players eventually budged and sold their skins, they did not have the financial tie to the game anymore. But when skin prices are rising, players get more invested in the game, causing them to play even more. And I predict with the prices being so low and the sentiment being so bad, that when the game gets better, the skins will steadily rise. This time, it will be more stable than before, as the prices will be supported by the player count. Counter-Strike has always been a competitive focused game, but the fact is that this game franchise has a large casual player base that want to play the less competitive modes that CSGO had to offer, such as the war games with game modes such as Arms Race, Demolition, Flying Scoutsman and Retakes not even being ported, or Danger Zone, the cool Counter-Strike Battle Royale, which wasn't ported, and I played that a ton and I can't even play that anymore, thanks Valve. Or other casual maps like Cache, Cobblestone, Agency, Train and many others that isn't ported to CS2 yet. This means that CS2 is left with only 37% of all maps from CSGO, which completely destroys the replayability, and is definitely why I don't play it as much anymore. These maps and game modes shouldn't be hard to port to CS2. Maybe Danger Zone would, but it would make many players come back to the game. The competitive modes also needs to be looked at, as the anti-cheat in CS2 seems worse than in CSGO, causing many games in the higher elo range to be filled with cheaters. It also takes 90 hours to get a rank on each map in competitive, which means that nobody has even reached global elite on any map yet. If Valve fixes this, it would boost the general sentiment towards these modes. I love Counter-Strike, and I probably won't stop playing it in the future. But the fact is, it sucks to see Valve release a broken Counter-Strike game. I think it was the right choice to not split the player base and remove CSGO. but the game was released way too soon. But on the positive side, CS2 has a lot of new potential that would definitely be great for the future development of the game. But it would definitely take some time before CS2 is on par with CSGO. And I'm certain that CS2 will exceed CSGO someday in the near future. And we will look back at this time having forgotten how bad it actually was.